All right, old school NBA fans, self-researched NBA facts. I got another video for you. As always, I just want to say thanks to everybody who watches my videos, subscribes to my channel. I really appreciate it. If you don't mind hitting the like button, if you haven't subscribed already, please do. I try to make daily content. I try to engage with everybody in the comments as much as I can. I like to think this is a different kind of channel where I do a lot of comparisons, deep dives into stats, that kind of thing. I don't do a lot of hot takes and, ramblings and whatnot. Try to bring the cold hard facts and then, let everybody do what they want with that. But anyway, in this particular video, I had another topic in mind, but I was going to do... I'm going to do one on Dikembe Mutombo because, I'm sure everybody has heard that he passed away. And brain cancer, I think it was, condolences to the Mutombo family, Dikembe Mutombo was he was a great player, known for his defense, but was even a better person. I mean, he was a great guy. Anybody would tell you that. Anybody talk to him would tell you he was a great guy. In this video here specifically, I was just going to talk about his, where I think he kind of got the short end of the stick on a couple things. One of those was Dikembe Mutombo was first team all defense 3 times. He was second team all defense 3 times. Now, those of us who were around back in the 90s will understand, in early 2000s will know how hard it was to be all defense as a center. So Mutombo had to deal with 1995 is when he won when he was awarded the first second team all defense. There was Shaquille O'Neal, you had Hakeem Olajuwon, you had Alonzo Mourning, you had David Robinson, you had Patrick Ewing. That was your competition. And he was second team in 95, first team in 97, first team in 98, second team in 99, first team in 01, and second team in 2002. Also, Ben Wallace at the end of that in like 01, 02 would have been a factor. Now, here's where I think Mutombo got kind of the short end of the stick. Dikembe Mutombo from 1994 to 2002 was top 3 in Defensive Player of the Year, 9 straight years, yet only made 3 first team and 3 second team all defenses. The numbers just don't add up there. Before 2014, it was the coaches that voted on all defensive team and the press for Defensive Players of the Year. That's why you had some of the wonky stuff like Marc Gasol finishing second team all defense, but 1 Defensive Player of the Year. Same thing with Tyson Chandler. I think that was in 2012. Same kind of thing. There was some weird stuff like that going on. But 4 Defensive Player of the Year to finish top 3, 9 straight years. This is what Mutombo was dealing with, who was his competition. You had Dennis Rodman, Hakeem Olajuwon, Gary Payton, Mark Eaton a little bit, maybe at the very beginning, but mostly he was more 80s. Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, David Robinson, Alonzo Mourning, Kevin Garnett, Tim Duncan, Ben Wallace. That was basically who he had to beat out for Defensive Player of the Year every year. The competition was fierce. Now, when it comes to winning the award 4 times, we all know it was Ben Wallace, it was Rudy Gobert, and it's Mutombo. Those 3 guys won it 4 times or more. Now, Ben Wallace's competition, he had Duncan and he had Kevin Garnett, but that's about it, really. It's Kobe, I guess, a little bit, even though he didn't have a lot of top 3s in Defensive Player of the Year. He certainly made all defenses, but as a guard. But for Defensive Player of the Year, being the best overall defensive player, the competition that Ben Wallace faced was not as fierce as what Mutombo was dealing with. And he won 4 of them in maybe the toughest era for Defensive Player of the Year. You look at Rudy Gobert. He had 4 defensive players of the year. He had 1 block title. Well, Mutombo had 3. But when Rudy Gobert won defensive player of the year, the players that he dealt, like in 2024, this last year, you had Jones. I mean, come on, was it Herbert Jones? Okay. Anthony Davis, sure, he's a really good defender. Bam Adebayo, okay, yeah, pretty good. And Victor Wembanyama, being 7'5", whatever. Some people thought he should have won it. All right, not bad. And what was it, 2022, Marcus Smart, Mikal Bridges, Jaren Jackson, Bam Adebayo. Is anybody going to sit there and tell me that these guys, these players, were as good as Dennis Rodman, Scottie Pippen, Michael Jordan, Gary Payton, Akeem Olajuwon, Patrick Ewing, David Robinson? Really? We're going to sit here and say that? Yeah, I don't think so. Then you had Giannis Antetokounmpo. Okay, sure. He was tough, but Ben Simmons, Draymond Green. I think in 2018 you had Joel Embiid, Anthony Davis, Paul George, and Al Horford made up the rest of the top 5. I mean, it's to me a laughing joke to think that Rudy Gobert's defensive players of the year bear any kind of the same weight that Mutombo's did. He had the 3 block titles. I think Mark Eaton had 4 of them. That's the only player I think that had more. Olajuwon also had 3. But no player in NBA history has had 9 top 3 defensive players of the year. Now, I understand that if there was such a thing back in the 60s and 70s, you could have had Bill Russell, Wilt Chamberlain, possibly Kareem. There could have been, maybe even like a John Havlicek. There could have been other players. I acknowledge that, absolutely. But the last 40 years, no other player has had 9 top 3 in defensive player of the year. It just hasn't happened. And like I said, I just named all these players that was the competition for Defensive Player of the Year. It was stiff. It was very hard to do. And in fact, Dennis Rodman had 4 top 3s in Defensive Player of the Year. Dennis Rodman, a guy who won Defensive Player of the Year twice, only had 4 top 3s. Olajuwon, who some consider the best defensive player of all time, I'm among them, had 7 top 3s. Gary Payton, 4 top 3s. Mark Eaton, 5 top 3s. Michael Jordan, 3 top 3s. Scottie Pippen, 3 top 3s. David Robinson, 5 top 3s. Alonzo Mourning, 2 top 3s. Kevin Garnett, 4 top 3s. Tim Duncan, for all defenses he got, first team, second team, all that, like 14 of them, I think. He only had 2 top 3 finishes for Defensive Player of the Year. That's it. Ben Wallace, a 4-time recipient, 5 times was top 3 for Defensive Player of the Year. Dwight Howard, a 3-time winner, only 4 times in the top 3 for Defensive Player of the Year. And of course, Rudy Gobert, this era, the modern era's big defensive guy, he's got 7 top 3s. But again, you got Marcus Smart, Ben Simmons, guys like that. I mean, sure. Anthony Davis is a really good defender, no doubt. Giannis, a very good defender, excellent. He won Defensive Player of the Year. But some of the other guys like Jaren Jackson, I mean, they're just okay. Yeah, they're good defenders, but they weren't killers. They weren't Alonzo Mourning. They weren't Ben Wallace. You know what I mean? They weren't Kevin Garnett or Gary Payton or Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant or Scottie Pippen or David Robinson or Akeem Olajuwon. They weren't that. They even like Shaq and Ewing. I think those guys are better defensive players than Jaren Jackson Jr. or Draymond Green or Marcus Smart. I mean, to me, it's just a joke to compare. And like I said, Rudy Gobert has 7 top 3s. That's the second most. And he has the 4 Defensive Players of the Year, like Mutombo. He's got 1 block title, where Mutombo's got 3. I mean, it's just not even worth talking about. And Mutombo's getting, 3.5, 4 blocks a game. Gobert get like you 2, 2.3, 2.5, whatever. And I understand the game has changed, but that's why it was even more impressive to win Defensive Player of the Year in the 90s and into the early 2000s. I know that Mutombo won it in 2001, and then Shaq, went on to, pretty much kill him in the finals. And I think he just didn't want to, Shaq was highly motivated because he didn't want to repeat of what happened in the 95 finals when another African-born player, beat him. And I think he was just driven like, oh, we're not doing this again. And, Shaq brought his A game that series. But even with that said, Dikembe Mutombo needs to be among the greatest defensive players of all time. Like I said, he's got the most defensive players of the year, tied with Gobert and Wallace. Okay, he doesn't have the all defensive teams because I don't know what the press had against him. I don't know what did the press have against him for, why didn't they or the coaches rather, what did the coaches before 2014 voted for all defense? What did the coaches have against him? I don't know. But the press loved him. 9 straight times in the top 3 in Defensive Player of the Year, winning it 4 times. I mean, we've never seen anything like that before. So anyway, point to my video is Dikembe Mutombo, rest in peace. I felt compelled to do a video on him. I know a lot of people are used to the Michael Jordan and LeBron stuff, all that, but Mutombo was a great defensive player. He was. I think he made All-NBA once, but I don't think he gets the recognition he deserves. Whenever people talk about the best defensive players, they automatically go to Olajuwon, Bill Russell, guys like that, maybe even Wilt or, something like that. Tim Duncan because he has all defenses. But just to say it again, to emphasize the point, there has been no player in NBA history to have 9 top 3 in Defensive Player of the Year. It's never happened. I understand it's a voting award, but he's got the 3 block titles to go with it. Mutombo has got to be up there for one of the best defensive players. Certainly in the last 40 years, he's one of the best 3 or 4. There's no doubt about that. So anyway, that's it for this video. Again, rest in peace to Dikembe Mutombo. You were a great player and even a better person. Thanks for watching. Until next time.